Hi everyone, I'm Bernard Bertrand, Lumix ambassador. Today I will share with you some details about a shoot I did in the middle of nowhere. Literally nowhere. Actually, it was in Rajdou, an island from the Maldives. I have been lucky enough to take part of a cruise on the Indian Ocean. A small cruise, not the one with 3,000 passengers. I landed in the Seychelles. We did visit the Seychelles Island, of course, really famous with the huge granite blocks on the beach. Then we did cruise to the Maldives. It took us about 3 days of cruising. And then Sri Lanka, where I took my flight back to Europe from Colombo City. Sri Lanka is a fantastic place, by the way. I will for sure go back there. So, as usual, I will show you the edit I did so far, and I will then give you all the technical details about the shoot and the post-production. I still have a ton of footage I need to go through. I just started by that one. And the edit you will see is about a minute long. And the structure of the edit have been done to work as a loop, mainly for Instagram. Here we go with the images. So as I said, it has been done to be used on Instagram by taking advantage of the format that automatically loop the clip. So again, I went a bit wide with the color grading, and this is the way I want. And before talking about the grading, a word about my setup. I did shot this with the GH5, handheld as always, together with a 12 to 35mm, taking advantage of the dual image stabilisation. Fantastic, of course, using a variable ND filter in front of my lens in order to be able to follow the 180-degree shutter rule that everybody knows by now. I shot this in 4K 50p. That gives me the image quality that I'm looking for. So my main setup, no matter what I do when I'm shooting that kind of fashion images, will be either the GH5 or the GH5S, depending on the light condition, obviously. The camera is mounted and protected by a cage. Since the beginning, I'm using the 8-scene cages, and as I'm working handheld most of the time, I appreciate the fact that they shape the handle to perfectly fit the right hand. And I have then a fantastic grip on the camera. And on top of that, thanks to Atomos, we have now the Atomos V, which fit perfectly that kind of camera setup. The size is just perfect, it's really light, really compact, and still you have all the possibilities that offers the Atomos recording. This Atomos V, fantastic screen and recorder have been produced for that kind of camera size. This is the perfect fit. For me that make my camera floating in my hands around my model all the time, this is the absolute perfect combo. The GH5 or the GH5S, a cage and the Atomos V. When I'm shooting in studio, I may also use the Ninja Inferno, which I'm actually using now. That will give you a bigger reading of your image, of course, but when shooting outside or handheld like this, the Atomos V is just perfect. So thanks again, Atomos. So as I said, I did shot this on 4K 50p just to make sure I can get that nice slow motion image when editing on a 25 FPS timeline. In terms of image style, as I do most of the time, I shot this with the fantastic Vlog profile. That gives me the flat image I want, but don't forget to make sure you expose it correctly. In this case, on very white sand, clear waters and strong sunlight, no problem in terms of exposure. But when you are shooting with dark areas, make sure you overexpose it a bit. We call that sort of technique exposing to the right. Basically, you'll make sure you shift your histogram to the right. By doing so, you are overexposing a bit. And this will make you get some clean shadows. And this is not new, this is really well known, but I still always get the question when I do a masterclass or a workshop about how correctly expose a vlog. or a log in general. So again, no problem in this specific case. But now let's get a closer look into the original images, far away from the almost low-key dark feeling I did produce at the end. As you see, even with a super bright scene like this one, I pay a lot of attention to my exposure. I always do. Exposure is the key for me. I see an entire generation of people not paying attention to their exposure at all. They are thinking that all the magic will come in post, and it's not. No magic will happen if you import badly exposed footage. What I believe is that you have to pay a lot of attention to your exposure, then in post you will have the room to do the magic. For me, the color grading is the cherry on the top of the cake. And the footage with the correct exposure is the cake itself. And we now have all the tools we need to do a proper exposure. On the GH5 itself, you may use the histogram, the waveform, the zebra in order to check what's going on with your exposure. And if you own an Atomos, then you will also get all the tools available there, of course. So let's get a closer look to the original files again. As you see, my Vlog flat profile did an excellent work. My exposure is right. Everything is pretty centered on the waveform. And I have there all the room to do anything I want with those images. Any magic, actually. I wanted something way darker, so I did pull everything down. I'm also crushing the blacks here and there, and I don't care. In this frame you can see here and there the bottom of her swimsuit in the back and some places beyond her neck and head. That's all good to me. I did grade this in Premiere Pro as there was nothing really complicated there. But when I was on the ship there in the Maldives, I did some color grading tests using DaVinci Resolve. Of course, a much better tool when you need to do really sharp color grading work. And I did this color grading style in a couple of minutes literally, using the DaVinci Resolve curves. Only nothing but the curves. I love to work with the curves, and especially in DaVinci Resolve. It is extremely powerful. And it is also really interesting to get used to the curves, as you will find curves everywhere, on every editing software. So let me quickly show you a quick test I did while I was still on the ship, using the curves only on DaVinci Resolve. So really simple as you've seen. And this is usually the way I'm grading my films. I step into DaVinci Resolve, that is by far the more versatile tool for grading. I put my headset on my ears with a nice playlist on Spotify and I tried any direction. But like on those images, I had a pretty close idea on the final result I want. And I often been asked if I also use LUTs. Not really actually. As I consider the color grading really part of the creative process, I really want to try to find my own way, every time. But this being said, I may use some LUTs if there are sort of creative LUTs, maybe to test and challenge the images a bit. But then right after testing, I will most of the time start again from scratch, my own way. And in terms of testing and challenging your images with some LUTs, I will soon do a video about the company that had created a pretty nice app related to LUTs. It is Lutify Me. So I believe that this is a brand new tool I may use and abuse in the near future. And during that cruise I did many other shoots. As I said, I'm still going through the entire stock of footage, so I will most probably come back with some more of those. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. And as always, if you have any questions or if I may be of any help for you, don't hesitate. I would be pleased to answer. See you next time.